Hello everyone, this is Indu. I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we will cover how to implement searching and pagination in .NET Core. So let's start. Firstly, you can click on create a new project. Then we can choose ASP.NET Core Web API and click on the next button. And after that, here we can give a project name. You can give any name that you want. And then click on the next button. So here we are using .NET 8.0 version. It's the latest version, .NET Framework version. So then next click on the create button and our first step we need to install the packages like anti-framework core, .tools and .sql. So here we can take class app.db context where we can insert the DB context and with the help of entity framework by using entity framework core app DB context. So it's also very important question like why we use the app DB context. So it's a like a bridge between our C# code and database. Here we can communicate with database like adding, update, delete. With the we can do all the things here, and also if we want a system version that we also add here, and if we want relationships like one-to-one relationship, one to many, and many to many relationship, that all code we can write here. And if you want to make any like any field name is unique, so you can add here. So here we can make a class that name is the country, and we can take a field ID and name. Mm, mm. So here we can follow the solid principle. First one is that is a single responsibility principle. It means a class have only single responsibility and single reason to change. For example, here country we add ID and name. So if we want anything else in country we want to add, so we can add here. So here country class only have a single responsibility and single reason to change. So this is the first principle, first letter, that is the S. S means single responsibility principle. So let's go. So we can add here. Firstly, we can insert DB context, and we here we can use namespace that is the using dot anti framework. using Microsoft.NT framework call. And here we can write the constructor, and we can inject this application DB context and DB context options. So we can inject our application DB context here. After that, we can take a public DB set, and here we can give our table name, and can write here our table name. And here we can give the name that we want to make in the database. For example, if we write here countries too, so it will create a table with the name of countries too. Now we are giving here countries, so it will take in our database like same name countries. After that, this is also very like application app setting.json file. So here we can add our connection string. So here in app setting, it's also very important question in .NET interview, like why we use the app setting.json file. So here we can write all the configuration related, all the information we can write here, and any setting we want if we need. So we can write here if we use a JWT token, that setting we also write here in app setting.json file. So that we can add our connection string in program.cs file. Basically, we can register in program.cs file, and program.cs file is our starting point and start point of our application. So we can register every service that we can use. Firstly, we can add here builder.services dot add here we can add the SQL Server connection, then services dot and add DB context, and here we can add the default connection that we make in a app setting.cs, sorry, app setting.json file. we can get here a connection string that we write in the app setting.json file. In commas, we can write here. So here we can add the migrations and update database. To that, if we can add update database. After that, we can make a interface and services. Basically, here we can implement dependency inversion. That is a solid principle. Last point, D means dependency inversion. So we can use the interfaces and services, and we can inject the interface in constructor rather than writing all the code here. So that is the dependency in injection or dependency inversion, you can say. So firstly, we can make a interface. After that, we can write the implementation. So we can give name here, I country. So here we can make a I country interface and a country service. Basically, here we can use the last solid principle, that is the D means dependency inversion, and also called a dependency injection that we can use. So to achieve dependency injection, we can firstly make the interface and then implement logic in a service, country service. And for that is the example of OOPS concept of encapsulation. We are we are adding the data and method together in a single unit. So in interface, it's here we only give the declaration of the method, not the definition of the method, and in which we can follow a solid principle, basically dependency inversion. And We are using interface because we can easily extend the method than we want, and it's also provide a loose coupling, and you easily extend our service and interface. Like if new method you want there, so you can easily add there. So our first we can add here for the get all with the help of searching and pagination. So here it's a very important question, like why we use the I enumerable in .NET interview and I queryable. So I enumerable we are using when we want to, but will do a I enumerable and I queryable. In I enumerable it fetch all the data from the database. For example, you have a 10,000 records. So in I enumerable it fetch all the 10 handle records. After that it will filter the data. So it will good when we want to get all method, we want all the data. And in uh, we use the iQueryable that time when we want the filter data, because in iQueryable we will fetch only the filter data. Like I want only 10 records, so I will fetch only the 10 records. So let's start. So here for now here we can use the iNumRable, because if user don't want to any filter, like he don't want to filter by name and sorting and pagination, so it will get all the records. Like if there is a 50 records, so it will fetch this method 50 records. So firstly we can take a iNameable and country. Yeah, this is our class name, and in total records here always we can show like how much the total records, and we can give the method name get all async. And here we can firstly give the page number, like page number 1, page number size, and search term, like we can search by name, search by description. For now here is we have only two fields, like ID and name, because we can want to make it simple so anyone can easily understand. So here we can give a integer. Page number 1 means firstly when it fetch the data, the by default it means by default a page number is equal 1. And page size, you can give any page size. Like if you want a 15 record, so you can give here page size 15. For now I am giving here page size 5. And in the next is search term. So for now I give here empty search term. So in an interface we only give the declaration of every method, and it's like a contract we can easily extend. It's also here we can follow a clean architecture, and with the help of this we can write our code, we can achieve a loose coupling. Basically we can do a separation of code. All the declaration we can do here. In service we can implement this interface, and in controller we can inject our interface rather than writing all the code in a same controller. So it will provide us a loose coupling and easy to maintain our code, easy to test. So this is it will follow a solid principles. So here after that we can make a method for get by ID, and then add and update. Here we can take a variable like int id. We can pass the id and fetch that record from the database, get that record from the database. And here we can use the async and await. If we want to use the async and await, we need to write here task. And when we inherit the service, where we need to use the sync and await. Every time when we fetch data from the database, that time we can write the await context dot save changes. And when we fetch data and when we save the data in the database, for example, when you add any record, when you click on the await dot save changes, that time you can add a await there. I will explain when in a service. And here we can make a add sync and update. Mm. We can take a parameter country model and country. It means when we like add any record in the output, we will get like okay 200 status code, and that record we can add that we get in the output. And in the delayed, we can choose a goal, like if any record deleted by id, then we can give a like true or false. So second step is here we can firstly we can inherit the our interface. So this is also a question like what is the inheritance? So we will inherit the features and method from the parent class or parent interface. So here we can make an interface. So we can inject interface that is the I country service. Here giving error because you need to implement interface. And here we also follow a principle that is the interface solid principle type, that is uh, I means interface aggregation principle. So we will try to make a separate interface for every service, every class. For example, for now we have only country, but we have when we have a service, so we can make a different interface for service, and different uh, service and interface for a state class. So that is the interface aggregation. So we can divide the interfaces. That is the principle of solid principle. That is the interface aggregation principle. And here we can inject the application db context. Here we can write our all the code. We can here. So one more important question, that is the abstraction. We can achieve abstraction with the help of interfaces and abstract class. So you can see here we can write all the code here, and in the controller we inject directly our interface and hide all the details here. So here we can also achieve the encapsulation. Encapsulation means hiding the method and methods in together in a single unit. So here we can all the data related means here we can add in the database, delete, update, all the things we can do here. And in controller we only call the interface and hide these details from the user for security purpose, you can say. So here, firstly, we can make a constructor of a like country service, and we can inject our application DB context. Here we can do all the changes like to add, update, delete, all the current operation. We can There are two steps. If you click on the I country service, so you can implement the interface directly. You don't need to write like that. Firstly, we can make the variable, and here we can write like we can fetch firstly the countries dot context dot countries dot to list as queryable, and can use here. Here we can add if query is null. Firstly, we can take a search term. If a search term, like when we search that value is not equal to null and empty, so find that value. For example, we can search by name. So, like in the database, there is a, record RAM. I want to search that record RAM by name. So we can fetch with the help of easily. So here we can use the lambda expression. Yeah, right here. Name dot contain search term. It means in the database we are contain like RAM, so it will fetch all the records related to RAM. Then we can fetch total records, like how much records in the database, like 10 records, 50 record. So here you can see we are using a public async. So, and when we fetch from the database, that time we are using a wait. For example, here you can see we are using await query dot count async. Like count means how much records, like 10, 15. So it will fetch the count. So here we can use the pagination. Pagination means dividing the large data into small pages. Like instead of getting all the record, we will fetch only 10 and 20 record. So here we can take a formula like skip, take, and page number and size we can use here. So skip means it will skip, like I want to, it will skip a 10 records. So it will skip the previous 10 record and take the next 10 one. And here we can give a page number, which page number we want, and how much records we can get, like page size. So this is the formula to get the pagination. Skip that we passed here. Here we can pass the page number -1 and multiply page size, and so we will skip this part and multiply page size and dot take the page size. Like if page size is the 5, then it will fetch the record 5s and skip that record that we pass here, like page number -1 multiply page size and take the page size like 5. If we write 5, then it will take the 5 and to list. So here we are fetching from the database. So you can see we are using here await. So we are using await because it will not like block the thread. Second one is get by ID. So every time when we insert the interface, we need to add a sync because here we can follow a sync. If we don't write this, it will give an error. So you can see here we are fetching from the database, so we can use a await. Return await context dot countries dot, and here we can use a first or default async that it all the same provided by anti framework core. And here we can use a lambda expression and we can match the id. So this is to fetch by id. Next one, again we are using async, and then we can choose a method, add async. So firstly we can get that we add in, like when we fetch this API, when we add that record, fetch that record and add, and you can see in the when we save changes sync, we can use await. So when we want to save any data in the database, that time we are using await, and when we want to fetch any, for example variable countries, we also use await. And here we can use the OOPS concept, encapsulation and abstraction also we can. make a private method here. And here we also follow the solid principle, that is the uh, open clause principle. Means interface is the open for extension but closed for modification. You can see in interface we can add a five method. So we can, if we want another new method like get all without any pagination searching, so we can easily add in the interface rather than changing the previous one. So that is the second principle. Like second, that is the so in a solid principle, or means open clause principle, means any class and any interface open for extension but closed for modification. It means we can easily extend the method rather than changing the previous method. So this is the second principle. I hope you can easily understand. So is here firstly we can check with the help of ID, and you can see here we also use a await because we are fetching with the help of ID from the database. That's why we are using here await. And next time we are checking is existing dot record not equal to null, then we can update. So here we can firstly change the name like existing name if name and save changes sync. Here we can do a in a 46. Here is a if existing equal not equals. Here we can write mistakenly not equal sign, but here you can write equal null. If existing record null, then return null.